Welcome to Table Talk. This week we have our Operations Director, Mr. Leon Sturkey, with us to provide us with several updates. Good morning, Mr. Sturkey.
Good morning, Dr. Bethea. How are you?
Doing well. Before Mr. Sturkey provides his update, just want to thank our parents and community for an outstanding first day of school. Our teachers did a phenomenal job on yesterday in new territory of offering remote virtual instruction. We do know that we had some technology hiccups in different places, but of course, we will continue to work on those hiccups as well as support our families however we can. But overall, it was a great day. As I did walk through observations yesterday, just saw a lot of great things going on instructionally. So again, thank you parents, thank you teachers, thank you community for that. Mrs. Sturkey, the operations department has a variety of different divisions. And so I know today you'll provide us with a brief update on the various divisions in the operations arena. So again, thank you for being with us, and I'll let you have it at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Bethea. I'm going to share my screen with you all now so that you all can see the PowerPoint presentation that we have.
While Mr. Sturkey is sharing his screen, I do want to remind our parents that next Wednesday, we will have workshop, which is an intervention time for several students. Principals will be sending out letters. If you've not already received a letter, you should be getting that communication to identify if your child is to attend school on next Wednesday. And so please look forward to that. Thank you, Coach Sturkey.
Thank you, Dr. Bethea. As you mentioned, Dr. Bethea, operations has a lot of parts that go together in order to be able to make sure that our schools are safe and as secure as possible for our students. We provide transportation and we provide food, meal services for our kids as well. So in operations, I am Leon Sturkey, Director of Operations. We have Al Blake, who's the operations specialist, Jarita Whaley, who's the administrative assistant for operation, Mr. Tim Perkins, who is the transportation supervisor, Ms. Pam Williams, who is the transportation administrative assistant, Ms. Brenda Cross, who is the food services supervisor, Mr. Jason Jordan, who is the food and nutrition specialist, Mr. Paul Woodbury, who is the field supervisor for food and nutrition, Mr. Rodney Hardy, maintenance supervisor, and Mr. Earl Barr, the maintenance foreman. As mentioned earlier, in operations, we have maintenance. So our guys are out and they're making repairs. They're doing long-term projects for each of our schools. As we often say, our schools from the exterior are what we see first. So we want to make sure that our schools are prepared on the outside for that our kids can come in and be in the best environment possible in order to be able to educate and prepare our students. Food services, we have about 62 staff members who work in our schools. They provide both breakfast and lunch for all of our students. Transportation, again, Mr. Perkins is the supervisor for transportation. Mr. Perkins has been in Marion County schools for about 35 years, and 20 of those he has been in transportation. Grounds, Mr. Earl Barr. Athletics, although we have school athletic directors, we do have a component of the of athletics that is come from the district office, and I technically serve as the district director of athletics as well. Safety and security and procurement, and we will start today with transportation. Marion County has 54 state-owned buses. We have 53 regular drivers, 18 sub-drivers, and 12 aides that are on those buses daily, trying to make sure that our kids get to school safely as possible and on time. Each one of our areas, Area 1 has a supervisor, Area 2 has a supervisor, and Area 7 has a supervisor as well. Those persons are the direct contact that Mr. Perkins has in each one of our areas. When we talked about preparing for our school year, And one of the things that the State Department of Education wanted to do was to make sure that our buses were clean before our students got on. So the state provided some hydrostatic machines so that they could be cleaned before students get on and after they leave at the end of the day. Our seats are assigned because if we were to have an outbreak, or if one particular child were to be diagnosed with being COVID positive, with kids being on assigned seats, it helped to be able to make those contacts with the other persons that may have been around that student. Since coming back, the State Department of Education asked that we go at 50% of our normal bus capacity. So right now for Marion County, that is around 30, 35 students on a bus at one time. No student sits on the front seat in any bus. And we are currently in the process of having a new camera system installed on our buses so that we can be able to see what happens on our buses. And again, making sure that I focus on making sure that our kids are as safe as they possibly can be. Food services. Right now, when our kids are out of school, we're doing breakfast from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. and lunch from 10:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. Currently, we have 62 cafeteria workers that for the 2019-2020 school year served over 776,000 meals during the last school year. If we had not been in the pandemic, that number would have probably been in excess of 1 million breakfasts and lunches served last year. Right now, when since our kids are on the hybrid model, or because most of our kids are either doing e-learning or they're in the virtual academy, we're not actually serving meals on campus when those students are out at home, but we do have takeout style meals that are served each day in our schools. The students can go to a school, they can pick up their meal, and then they can leave. They don't have to necessarily go to the school that they are enrolled in. It just has to be a school in Marion County. So the parent can go, the guardian can go and pick up the meal. They just need to make sure that they tell the persons in the cafeteria the student's name and the school that he or she attends. During the leap week and the other days that students are on campus, our meals are being served in classrooms in order to be able to minimize the amount of transitions that students have throughout the building. Thinking that if we can serve them in the classrooms, then they've been around that same group of students all day, and if there was any concerns, we could be able to just pinpoint it to that particular classroom. As I mentioned earlier, Mr. Paul Woodbury is the field supervisor. Mr. Woodbury works closely with each one of our cafeteria managers to ensure that the safety protocols and requirements from the South Carolina Department of Education and DHEC are followed. We want to make sure that we're in compliance with everything that we should be, again, in order to make sure that our food is prepared the way it should be and our kids are safe as they can possibly be. So what you see now is a breakfast menu for this current week. Trying to make it as appealing as possible, just to be able to make sure that it has to be nutritious, and it helps when it's good for our kids to have as well. So, Mrs. Croston and Mr. Jordan have prepared a menu for both breakfast and lunch, and the one that is before you now is the breakfast menu. And this is a copy of the lunch menu as well, and that will change weekly, and it'll be updated not only on the district website, but it'll be updated on the school's websites as well. Safety protocols that have been in place because of the pandemic. We've unplugged the water fountains. We make sure that we have made social distancing a practice daily in all of our schools. If in our schools, you will see stickers throughout on the floor that says, 6 feet apart. For our staff, every day we have to do temperature checks, and before we sign in, we need to think about those things, that if we have a persistent cough, had a fever over 100.4, if we had any of those things, then we should not sign in on that particular day. Earlier in the spring, the district purchased some Clorox 360 hydrostatic machines. Those machines are used in order to do deep cleaning with our schools daily. At the end of the day, when kids are gone, you know, the rooms are clean, and then in the morning prior to coming as well, those hydrostatic machines are used in order to make sure that the schools are safe. High frequency areas such as doors, door handles, restrooms are cleaned a little bit more frequently throughout the day in order to, again, make sure that they're as clean as they can possibly be. Hand sanitizer machines are placed strategically in our schools so that if a student walks out of a classroom, he or she needs to sanitize their hand, those machines are throughout the buildings to be able to make sure that they're readily available for students. Again, I mentioned social distancing signs, and they are placed throughout the school. There are signs coming in the building where it is talking about being socially distant. One of the things that we know affects social distance is the traffic in the hallway. So we're trying to minimize that traffic. And in some of our schools, we're even doing one-way flow of traffic in order to make sure, again, that it is as safe and as possible for each one of our students. Other safety protocols that we have had, we'll have limited attendance for athletic events for at least for the fall of the 1920-21 school year. We are not participating in middle school football this year. Each one of our athletes will be asked those same questions that staff have to adhere to, and their temperature will be checked. In order to make sure before they get out, you know, that they are fever-free, don't have any of the other issues that are COVID related. Out of concern for each one of our students, again, our cheerleaders nor our band will travel to away games. They will ban, and in particular for each one of our schools, each school through the South Carolina High School League will limit their attendance. If our band goes to an away game and there are 45, 50 members of that band, that will count in the ticket count for the visiting school if they were to attend away games. Dr. Bethea, that is a brief overview of what it is that we do in operations. It's kind of like when you're officiating. If we're doing our things correctly, then we're kind of invisible. We kind of disappear. But when we do not do some things directly or that are our responsibilities, then we are in the spotlight, and we like to be invisible. Do what we're supposed to and make sure our schools are safe, make sure our transportation gets kids to and from as safely as possible, and then we provide the best possible meal solutions for our students and our staff.
Absolutely. And Coach, I want to thank you for that overview. Of course, at the end of each table talk, I do have follow-up questions just to provide clarity. Have had many conversations with parents that are just concerned, again, about the COVID and wanting to make sure that proper procedures are in place. Can you talk a little bit how you have enhanced? I know you talked about the electrostatic machines, but can you talk about a little bit more about the enhanced requirements and the daily checklist for custodians, and a little bit more detail for our families?
Sure. As you said, Dr. Bethea, we have provided each one of our schools with a checklist of things that need to be done. Not only that need to be done, the frequency of those things being done as well. So our custodial staff, our office staff, administration, all know those things that need to be done. So again, our schools can be as safe as possible. I know this is the time that is new for not only Marion County, but it's new for every school in South Carolina. Most schools throughout the nation are still dealing with the same things that we are, and we are constantly evolving. If we know that we're not doing something well and somebody else is doing it, we'll have conversations with those folks in order to make sure our schools are as safe as they can possibly be. So we do have the electrostatic machines. We are doing daily cleanings, some areas a little more frequently than others. In the restroom facilities, we're alternating stalls. So if the first one is used, then we will skip the second and go to the third. Again, just trying to be as safe as possible. Staff is required to wear a mask at any transitions or even when they're with students. The only time the staff do not have on mask if they're in the office or they're in their classroom by themselves. If we were to have a staff member to test positive, then we need to make sure we have protocols in place in order to be able to address it immediately. Once we have that indication that we have somebody who's tested positive, then we will go in again and make sure with our electrostatic machines that we have done a deep cleaning.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. The information that you have provided has been very helpful. Just want to remind parents that we are able to have them pick up lunch each day,
Yes,
hot meals, and we hope to continue to grow in our numbers in terms we know that we're just starting with that. If there are any specific concerns, they can reach out and discuss those individual concerns, and we'll handle those on a case-by-case basis. Mrs. Sturkey, we will want to have you back in maybe a couple weeks just to talk, and not just you. You want to bring in the ADs from each area to have more of an in-depth conversation about athletics.
Yes,
just want to make sure that, that we're very clear that health and safety has to come first. And there may be times where decisions have to be made where we ought not to play and to do those types of things, but there are no penalties for that with the high school league that this year. And so just want to make sure that we are clear, because I do think there is some miscommunication that is circulating. And so we would love to have you back on Table Talk.
No problem.
And members of your athletic team as well, department as well.
Yes,
want to thank you again for joining us this morning. And we just look forward to you coming back on Table Talk. Parents want to thank you again for a great first day of school. If you have concerns, please reach out. We'll try to get those concerns addressed as quickly as possible. Again, Table Talk, talks, togetherness, and transparency. Have an awesome day.